How's it going, guys? Correct Rack here. Today we're going to be discussing something very, very important. Today's video is about how I got fired from Subway Numero Dos. That's fucking right. I got hired at McDonald's here once, then fired, then got rehired there, and got fired, then got hired at Subway, got fired, got rehired, then got fired again. And that's what I'm fucking talking about. I don't want to see anyone in my vicinity working a 9-to-5 job with stability and consistency. I don't want to see that. And I don't want to see your smug-ass smile as you increase your credit score and build your future. I want to destroy, and that's exactly what has happened here yet again. You see, I got hired at my local Subway. Well, was local before I moved, and I got fired after the longest period of time I had ever worked to date. So this story starts about 3 months ago. I was in my childhood hometown for a while, saving money to get an apartment. Well, I needed a job stat. So I looked at the town's job listings, and there were the amazing options of McDonald's, Subway, a hardware store, 4 gas stations, and a bar. There's absolutely nothing else unless you had a PhD and were ready to be a travel nurse for $3,000 a week. I think it's actually pretty ridiculous that my siblings were so insistent I be normal and get a normal job and get a degree. They were so concerned about my future. Now look where the fuck we are. Anyways, that's irrelevant. Get back to the story. So I threw my ass onto the streets to make some cold hard cash. My first stop and application was Subway, and the boss was there making some bread. The boss's name was Vlad. He had been to prison, and he wanted to make some money at Subway and do it as cleanly as possible. If Agent 47 slit somebody's throat with precision, Vlad poked holes in the bread for proper aesthetic styling with precision. So I used the classic interview bait and switch, which I'm sure will ruin it for everybody else now. So this technique is a classic. You just apply to a business, and then like a day or two later, you call the business, act like your application's been there for a while. Even if they see the truth, they don't really care. They'll usually go for it. And you might make a good impression in the process. So it obviously worked, and I had this Subway job after maybe like a 48-hour period from start to finish. I was like, this is going to be my career, okay? This will build my future. I was going to work so hard, I was not going to mess around, I was not going to call the customer a bitch, I was not going to make any underage girls uncomfortable. I was ready to rock and fucking roll. So day one, and I think I did pretty good. I acted like an innocent little angel, and everything was fine. I did some dishes, I sold some sandwiches at the till, I made some absolutely horrendous sandwiches, and after day one, the boss approaches me, and is friendly as hell. Me and him cracked some jokes, we got along, he gave me some tips on certain things, and we kind of had like a slight like acquaintance bond, like we were kind of becoming friends there. Day two, and I did great again, and I was starting to make customers really happy. They loved it. It was great. And they were like, can I get a foot-long sandwich? And I'd be like, sure. Then they'd be like, all right, can I get lettuce or pickles on that? I'd be like, sure. Then they'd be like, can I get a to-go bag after paying for it? And I'd be like, sure. Then that'd be it, and, I'd have made this beautiful company a profit. However, the boss Vlad started to notice that I was completely insane, and he loved it. He was like, cool, let's hang out. And I was like, hell yeah. So the actual fucking boss of a fast food chain came over, and we smoked some dabs, I think. And I got so high that one time that I saw him, and he looked like an evil criminal from Alcatraz. I hadn't even thought of him as Vlad anymore. I already had high anxiety from my intense life at the time, and that combined with him and his, his criminal aura, okay, I don't know, scared me. I know he's not an evil criminal from Alcatraz. I just felt like he was in the moment. Don't judge me. So time passes, and Vlad finds out my YouTube, and not just him, but pretty much every employee there goes and checks it out, which was really cool. It made me feel really good. However, considering I knew how this was all going to end, I was not, celebrating. I felt really weird about it. Felt like I was going to a Holocaust museum with a swastika tattoo on my chest underneath my clothing. And eventually, Vlad slowly, little by little, starts to lose his enthusiasm towards me. Because he was very supportive at first. He was like, bro, you're awesome, you have a lot of views, you're doing so good, good work. And I was like, damn, man, thanks. But I bet on my life he would take it back now. And I knew that was going to happen all along, so that's why I was kind of cold towards him. Now, even though my work ethic was kind of strong, at least from my perspective, I could tell pretty quickly that I was going to get fired. The first reason is because I could not, for the love of God, interact with the Jesus-loving customers in a way that made them happy. I don't like the customers. They're fucking douchebags. Welcome to Subway. What can I get for you today? I think I'll take the, yeah, hey, can you actually come here for a minute? Yeah, come here. Oh, sure. Yeah. What's up? Yep, just come here. Come here. Yep. Go fuck yourself. Ugh. All they do is obsess over how well the slave worker, sorry, I meant Subway employee, presents the experience. And they're a bunch of old people who just get pissed off at fucking nothing, and I don't care about them. At all. All they do is bitch, cry, moan, whine, shut the fuck up. Okay, I sound a little hostile for Subway, I get it, but God, why do they want such outstanding service? They're paying like $12 to $40 for a meal for them or their family. They should be happy we aren't living in desolation like the Middle East. But they're so fucking spoiled, is what I'd call them. Look, my white ass has been fired from 15 jobs now, but this Subway gig has the most spoiled customers I've ever seen. They throw tantrums. They stage little protests where they won't come to the store if you don't do what they like. They will throw sandwiches at tables if they're super angry. They'll complain if you look at the lights too long. I have moth-like instincts, so I'd appreciate if you stopped complaining about that. They don't shut up, and even if they leave for a fucking week, they'll complain a week later, by phone. I don't miss them. I'd work at a sex shop selling dildos faster than going back to Subway. Not to mention, Subway is just so boring. All you do is do dishes, clean, slice, for 8 hours a day, and you serve douchebags who hate your guts. Whereas, even if your job was to be a coal miner thousands of feet underground, you'd still have more variety. The first real major incident at this Subway was when an Asian customer came in and his family. The parents were maybe like 45 years old, and their kids were like, I don't know, 4, 3. And they came up and ordered, and everything was fine. They were like, could I get a Italian BMT on footlong Italian urban cheese bread? I was like, yes. Everything was pretty cool, until I said, as a joke, you know, these kids' sandwiches are so small they could be eaten by dogs. Because it's true. It's factual. I wasn't even, hardly even joking. And they were like, ha ha ha, yep, okay. And I was like, kids, dogs, what's the difference, right? And he was like, yeah, then left. However, he came back, and then I watched him take a foot-long meatball sub that he just ordered, and he threw it onto a table, and it got everywhere on purpose, and he splattered it all over the fucking walls. Then he came up to me and was infuriated, and was like, can I speak to you for a minute? And there were 2 kids working there with me, and I didn't want to deal with their laser-sharp observation of what was happening. So I said, can we step outside? And he said, sure. I was like, what is this concerning? He was like, you need to apologize to my family right now for what you said. I was like, what did I say? Honestly, because I said so much, I couldn't even remember. And he was like, you just said that sandwiches were for dogs and kids were basically dogs too. And this for some reason upset him, so I just played along. I apologized to his family, yada yada, got his ass out of there without too much trouble, and he complained to the store. I pretended to the kids inside that everything was fine, but I don't think they were as stupid as I was hoping. And then I lied to the boss about what really happened, so that my responsibility was less, and I already knew at that point that I was fired. I didn't really understand why that man was so upset that I made that joke, though. Maybe it was just my unprofessionalism. I just said that his kids are dogs and that kids are dogs. And then I thought about it. Wait a minute. This guy's Asian. Oh. Yeah, Asians are frequently mocked for eating dogs. So, me stating that his kids were dogs did not go over very well. After this got back to the boss, Vlad was fucking pissed. I don't know why he was so pissed. Maybe he took a hit from corporate over it, but he was pissed. And he was being very angry. And I don't like angry people. That's when I start to play the mind games. So I just ignored it because I was hoping that me ignoring his disrespect would trigger when he was in prison where he sees that as an honorable act. And then he wouldn't fire me. It was the plan the whole time. And it actually worked for a while, but he pretty much caught on. He bamboozled my plot. I'd be working on the line, and he'd be like, oh, fucking shit, your work ethic is fucking terrible, you fucking bitch. I was like, okay, pretty hardcore Subway. Anyway, time passed, and more issues arose. Customers were complaining endlessly about me. I could have expected 7 or 8 complaints about me a day minimum, though the complaints were pretty ridiculous. Some of them were valid because I was being cracked rack at work, which is pretty bad. But still, some of the complaints were as little as they thought that I looked too serious and intense, and that I was too stressed to work at Subway, which is just fucking bullshit. The other issue was that I made terrible sandwiches. I made sandwiches with my full sandwich power, and that was not even close to enough power. Customers would bring their sandwiches in and would be like, this is just a mess. Then they'd unfold their sandwiches and the wrapper would open and it would just look like a salad with dressing on it. The complaints got so bad that I had to start answering the phone in front of my boss and pretend it was a positive interaction. So one guy called me and was like, I can't fucking believe this. This sandwich is the biggest piece of shit I've ever had in my fucking life. And I'd be like, oh, we have plenty of options. And he'd be like, huh? And then I'd be like, okay, thanks, bye. Then I'd hang up and turn the phone into fucking silent mode. Now at this point, me and Vlad were not getting along. That friendship had pretty much dissolved at this point throughout time. On top of this, there was this absolutely hideous piece of shit employee named Elizabeth. And she was disgusting. She had severe bipolar, which isn't that big of a deal, but she was also like 350 pounds. She'd be doing the dishes and she'd be like, you know, Matthew, when I do shrooms, I get really horny. Like, I drip everywhere from my pussy. And I'd be like, And then she'd be like, well, I'm going to turn on my music now. And then she'd put her iPod on speaker to the store, and it was like Taylor Swift's Shake It Off. So I'm just standing there cleaning the line, and I hear, I stay out too late. I got on one too many dates. I love Andrew Tate. And I was just like, oh, God, fuck my life. Well, time passed, and a killing blow happened that got me fired. The main killing blow was that I asked a customer if they had a lighter so I could go on my smoke break. After this, Vlad pretty much had me on probation for my job. There were some other employees that were fucking the job up too, so I felt a lot better about it. There was this one kid named, I think, Braden, and he was like, yeah, I'm gonna go switch jobs to the tire shop. Thanks for this opportunity. And Vlad was like, what? And he was like, yeah, I'm switching. I'm going to the tire shop. You'll see me at the tire shop. And he was like, okay, whatever. Well, time passes, and he was never at the tire shop. It was an elaborate ruse to not hurt Vlad's feelings. And that's where I felt empowered, frankly, because we were all having the same experience, and we were scapegoating Vlad. Vlad was the cause of all of our problems, and we were letting him know. So anyway, time passes even more. So the real killing blow that just got me like 86 from that Subway was one day I really wanted a sandwich, and I was tired because I hadn't slept in like 2 days, and I was ready to just pass out, but I was so hungry, and I had very saggy pants on, the kind that would fall to your ankles if you stood up at all, and I wasn't wearing any underwear. The reason I had such a trashy appearance is because I had not slept, and I didn't care. I was just doing various intensive, important things that I needed to get out of the way, and I just wore whatever clothes that I had. So I could have put on a belt, but it was all the way across the house, and I didn't care, so I was like, fuck it. I'll be fine. I'll just scrunch my pants up. I won't hang out. I'll be out of there in a couple minutes. So I go there, and I ordered a sweet onion chicken sandwich, which is really just a sugar chicken sandwich, and I was talking to Vlad, who I did not expect to be there. And because of that, I stayed there a lot longer than I should have. You know, the whole pants operation was abandoned at this point, so I was just kind of hoping to God it didn't happen. Now, there were 2 minors working there, 2 little kids, and I was able to protect it from them. I pulled my pants up all the way, and everything was fine there. However, apparently, I stood up when talking to Vlad, when it was just me and him, and my pants fell down enough to where my cock came out. I didn't feel it happen, but I could believe it because of the situation. Vlad was absolutely furious because he believed I was walking around like that the whole time with the minors around. So he was like, get the fuck out of my store. And I was like, okay, whatever. I'm not even going to put up a fight. I don't care. So I left, and he walked outside with me. That wasn't enough. He followed me from behind, and he was like, hey, motherfucker. And he grabbed me like a choke grab on my throat. But because I was so sedated on drugs, I didn't really care. I couldn't care, even if I desperately wanted to. I'm not just trying to sound like badass. I didn't care. I couldn't form an attachment to him, and yeah. So I didn't fight back. I just let him do his thing and intimidate me. And he had like a weird freak out where he was like, don't ever show your cock to the employees. They are kids. Don't come back or I'll call the cops, you faggot. I was like, faggot? Oh, he's referring to the eyeliner in my profile picture. He probably thinks I'm gay. And I was like, whatever, he'll cool off. He has no idea what even happened anyways. He thinks that I was just giving a peep show to everybody. So obviously I was fired after that, and I didn't report Vlad because I'm not a pussy. I don't need Subway's little permission to solve my problems. But no, I mean, I do a lot of things that seem really creepy when they happen, but they're not really. Like, the intent was not creepy. And I think that's what makes me the creepiest of all. Basically, I made that skit that you just saw like a couple days ago, and I was still wearing the uniform and I was hungry. So I went to the taco truck by Subway, and then I realized on my phone that I still had a Wi-Fi connection to Subway. Like I could still connect. So I connected and I was talking to some people on my phone for, God, maybe 20 minutes. All of a sudden I realized they can clearly see me in a Subway shirt, probably days after I've been fired, just using their Wi-Fi. And they shut it off, and I was pissed. And that's the end of the story. So, moral of the story here is Vlad is the cause of all of our problems. Fuck you, Vlad. You ruined our lives. And you plotted the whole thing out.